Which issuer is best? Chase or American Express? Both have some standout cards with a ton of value and perks that can reward you with experiences like these and these. And having navigated both over the last 7 years, in this video I'm unpacking everything from the best cards for beginners, experts, and everyone in between, costly mistakes to avoid, with strategies to unlock the most value, with real examples. By the end, you'll know exactly which cards deserve spots in your wallet. So when someone asks me, hey, which card is the best to start with, Chase is my go-to answer. They've got cards I recommend to anyone at any level with no hesitation. And their whole Freedom lineup of cards fits perfectly into this starter or no annual fees section perfectly. First, the Chase Freedom Rise card. 1.5% on everything, no annual fees, and $20 in bonus when you enable automatic payments. It's one of their easier cards to be approved for, perfect for anyone new or just getting started. Next to that, you have the solid Chase Freedom Unlimited card, coming in with a similar 1.5% back on everything, but more categories like 3% on dining, drugstores, and 5% back on travel through their portal. This one though comes with a higher bonus of $200 after spending $500 in the first 3 months. Now, this is typically a highly recommended foundational card for pretty much everyone, given the 1.5 times back on everything and having no annual fees, which allows you to keep this card open pretty much forever without any cost. And I say 1.5 times back because all of these Chase Freedom cards actually earn you their Chase Ultimate Rewards points currency instead. Not only does this give you the flexibility to convert back to cashback at the 1 cent per point rate, so 1.5 times points equals 1.5% back in cashback, you can use those points in higher value ways when you get deeper into the ecosystem. That said, one of my favorite cards from Chase, and one I've had for over 4 years now, is the Chase Freedom Flex card. No, you're not getting 1.5 times on everything, just 1 times, but instead, you're getting 5 times back in rotating categories up to $1,500 to spend every quarter. With the current quarter as of the time of this filming being grocery stores, fitness clubs and gym memberships, and more. That means if you spend $1,000 this month, $700 on groceries and $300 on dining, you're earning $3,500 and $900 points, totaling $4,400 points or $44 in cashback value at the minimum, all on this no annual fee card. And that's the floor value. You can get 2 times, 3 times, or even more in value when used in those other ways. What's more is that you'll also get cell phone protection as long as you pay for the monthly bill with the card. That said, although American Express is typically thought of as that more premium brand, they do have some cards that fit in this category that people sometimes overlook. First, there's the American Express Blue Cash Everyday card, giving you 3% back on groceries, US online retail, and gas stations, each up to $6,000 to spend every year, with $200 back after spending $2,000 in the first 6 months. All with no fee, but you're earning direct cash back, not points, so you can't save them up and then use them in higher value ways down the road. Also, notice that none of these categories exist as permanent categories on the Chase Freedom lineup of cards. So for the right person that spends a lot in groceries, US online retail, and gas stations, it can be a perfect fit. Yes, it does not have that high 5 times category, but 3% is solid for permanent categories with pretty high spending ceiling. Disney and Home Chef credits throw in some free extra value if you already use them, but if not, I wouldn't go chase after it. Then the older sibling card, the Amex Blue Cash Preferred, which I'm still considering a starter card given it has a first year annual fee of just $0, only bumping up to $95 from year 2 and onwards. But as with any card, you can decide if you want to keep the card in the future or cancel or downgrade to a no annual fee version. But you may not want to, because not only does this card have a slightly higher welcome bonus at $250 after spending $3,000 in the first 6 months, it has a much higher 6% back at US groceries up to $6,000 to spend every year, 6% back at select streaming services, and and 3% back for transit and gas. Again, categories that none of the Chase Freedom cards permanently have. And honestly, say you do max out the grocery spend every year. That's $6,000 a year or $500 per month. In total, that would be $360 in cashback value, higher than the $180 you would get on the no annual fee Blue Cash every day, and more than enough to cover the annual fees from year 2 and onwards. Now, these cards from both Chase and Amex don't really go head-to-head in this starter category, given they have pretty different sets of categories you'll earn extra value from. So whichever works better for your spending lifestyle, consider going in that direction. However, the Chase cards are generally easier to be approved for compared to American Express, especially if you're just starting out or just don't have that great credit. Add on the fact that the rewards earned from the Chase Freedom cards flex harder, puts Chase slightly ahead in this category, with the ability to convert them to cashback at 1 cent per point, or if you're done just dipping your toes in and now eyeing mid-tier cards, this is where those points can really stretch in value. Say you bump the value up to 2 cents per point instead of just 1. Suddenly, the Freedom Unlimited's 1.5 times is 3% back in value, and the Freedom Flex's 5 times is 10% back in value on those rotating categories, up to the limit. When put that way, Chase's value gets really competitive going into the future. These mid-tier cards is where the fun kicks in. More rewards, credits, and perks across Chase and American Express start popping up. And I've leaned on these for years, turning less than a welcome bonus's value into flights like these from Vancouver to Osaka in business class. Take the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, one of my core cards over the last 7 years and a perfect companion to my Freedom Flex. It's what lets me combine my points and have more flexibility, like transferring to Chase's travel partners, something the Freedom cards alone cannot do. And at $95 a year in annual fees, you get a card that will earn you 5 times points when booking travel through the portal, 2 times on other travel, 3 times on dining, online groceries, and select streaming services, paired with a 60,000 point welcome bonus after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months. A bonus more than enough to cover that Vancouver to Osaka business class flight, costing just 55,000 Chase points transferred to one of their travel partners, in this case Aeroplan, for a flight worth $2,461, pinning the value at over 4 cents per point. If searching for awards like these isn't your thing, then you can also use your points through the Chase travel portal and get extra value at 1.25 cents per point when booking that way. That's then $750 in value on that 60,000 point welcome bonus. Put in those ways, the $95 in annual fee is light compared to what you actually get. But here's the kicker, you also get a $50 hotel credit every anniversary year when booking through the portal, plus DoorDash, Peloton, and Lyft benefits valued at over $100 a year if you actually use them. Now, when Chase has one card in this category, Amex actually has 2. First, there's the Amex Green Card, coming in at $150 in annual fees and will earn you 3 times points in travel, transit, and dining, with a lower 40,000 point welcome bonus after spending $3,000 in the first 6 months. It's fine, but not thrilling unless transit is really big in your lifestyle, which that 3x is not available on the Sapphire Preferred. But I imagine that with Amex mentioning they'd be refreshing a ton of products this year, that the Amex Green Card is a prime candidate. The real gold star here though is the Amex Gold Card, which yes has a higher $325 in annual fees, but will earn you 4 times points at restaurants and US groceries, up to $50,000 and $25,000 per year respectively, and 3 times on flights or 2 times on hotels when booked through the portal. The 4 times here on the major food categories really outshines Chase here. And to further reduce that annual fee, you'll also get $120 in Uber Cash at $10 per month, $84 to Dunkin' at $7 a month, $100 to Resi restaurants at $50 a half, $120 to select restaurants at $10 a month, and $100 when booking eligible hotels through the hotel program of 2 nights or more. That's over $500 in value, but even if you just use half of it, that could bring the effective annual fee down to just $75. And with a welcome bonus of 60,000 points after spending $6,000 in the first 6 months, which has often gone up as high as 90,000 points for the same spend, that's almost enough for 2 of those Osaka business class flights right there. So in terms of spending, I think the Amex Gold Card takes the cake here when it comes to food spend, But the Sapphire Preferred wins when it comes to travel spend. The Chase Sapphire Preferred is also cheaper, so if you can't justify the cost of the Amex Gold card through the credits, then you may want to go to Chase's direction. And as for the points, both can be used in similar ways. For example, both of them can transfer to programs like Aeroplan, which has been one of my favorite ways to use all of my points, among their other unique partners as well. Though if that's not your jam, then Chase has the extra value when using those points through the basic travel portal. The winner here really depends on your lifestyle, but it's also possible to go for both cards, if that works for you. But for the most value and rewards possible, premium cards is where it's at. And both Chase and American Express have some heavy hitters in this category, offering a ton of points that gave me experiences like these on Singapore Airlines or chill lounge spaces at airports. But the more valuable and lucrative the card, the more mistakes that can be made, so we'll get to those too. But first, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the older sibling card from the Preferred, coming in at $550 in annual fees, but will earn you 5 times on flights and 10 times on hotels and car rentals when booked through their portal, 3 times on dining and other travel, 10 times on Chase dining, all paired with 60,000 points after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months. Now, you're probably not even considering this card unless you travel even just a little bit, and if you do, you'll pretty much bring that annual fee down to an effective $250 using that flexible $300 travel credit, which works for anything that codes as travel. You're not limited to the portal or a certain category. And for that $250, you'll also get global entry, TSA PreCheck or Nexus credit, lounge access to Priority Pass or Chase Sapphire lounges, along with benefits from the Edit Hotel Collection, Peloton, and DoorDash, with an elevated 1.5 cents per point value when using your points through the portal, all higher values than the Preferred card. Now, whereas the Sapphire Reserve card, in my opinion, caters to a much wider audience and provides some solid value, the Amex Platinum card caters to a much narrower audience, but for those that make sense, can give much higher value. First, although it comes with a sky-high $695 in annual fees, it does come with a higher welcome bonus of 80,000 points after spending $8,000 in the first 6 months. But people are often targeted for bonuses of up to 175,000 points, which is insane because that's more than 3 times of those Osaka business class flights. However, welcome bonus aside, it takes a much more nuanced approach in order to get enough value out of these different credits and benefits to offset that cost. Sure, it says over $1,500 in value, but if you take a closer look, they're much more specific, like certain digital entertainment, booking through certain hotel programs, a specific department store like Saks, Uber Cash, which is one of the easier ones to use, airline fee credit, and more. Nowhere as flexible as the Sapphire Reserve. But you really only need half of those credits in order to already offset the annual fee, just that it won't make sense for a lot of people. And it gets worse when it comes to the spending multipliers, with 5 times points when booking direct with the airline, which can come in handy, but the 5 times on flights and hotels through their portal, not so much. On the bright side, the Amex Platinum card does give you some solid elite status, like Hilton and Marriott Gold for those room upgrades, or even car rental status. Essentially, the Sapphire Reserve caters more to people who just generally spend, dine, and travel, whereas the Amex Platinum card really elevates the experience to the max, offering not only the Priority Pass lounge access that the Reserve has, but also Plaza Premium, more locations of their Centurion lounge, among more networks, but is harder to get that day-to-day value. But hey, you're not limited to one or the other. You can go for multiple of these cards. For example, maybe you like the Amex Gold card as your mid-tier card for that food spend, but then go for the Sapphire Reserve, given maybe you have a Sapphire lounge in your local airport. For me, I've opted for the Sapphire Preferred as my mid-tier spender, and the Amex Platinum card as my premium card, given I can actually leverage a lot of the credits to make it work, and also have a Centurion lounge at my local airport and no Sapphire Lounge. Also, having access to both programs isn't just about double dipping in points earning potentials. You can also benefit from transfer bonuses across both platforms, which are typically different every time they happen, as well as dip into each one's unique travel partners. For example, Chase has Hyatt, and it's relatively easy to get over 2 cents per point in value when booking through that method. Or Amex giving you access to Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer Awards, which has a ton of availability, like how I use for an upcoming flight from Seattle to Singapore, booking business class Saver Awards for 107,000 points, easily over 3 cents per point in value. That said, before you just jump right in and apply for all of the cards, there are a few mistakes you need to know and avoid. First, the order of the cards you get matters. On the Amex side, you won't qualify for the bonus on the gold card if you've had the platinum card. So be sure to go for the opposite direction. Go for the gold first and then later go for the platinum card. Because if you're like me and did the opposite, you'll miss out on over 90,000 points from that gold welcome bonus. Second, I would avoid Amex cards unless you absolutely need them or when they're at their all-time high offers, like 90,000 points on the gold or 175,000 points on the Amex Platinum card. This is because in most cases, you'll only qualify for one bonus per card per lifetime, so make it count. Third, on the Chase side, each of the Freedom cards have a 24-month window before you can possibly qualify for the bonus again. Whereas on a Chase Sapphire card, it's 48 months and it's for the whole Sapphire category of card. And fourth, Chase has a 524 rule, stating that you won't qualify for new Chase cards if you've had 5 or more new cards of any issuer in the last 24 months. So keep track and pace yourselves. Amex does have a 5 personal card rule, but neither the gold or the platinum card qualify, likely because they're charge cards, not regular credit cards. But what other cards are there? By now you're probably wondering, hey, you've gone through Chase and Amex point earning cards, but what about all of the co-branded cards? Well, one, they're not my expertise, and two, well, I don't think they're great for most people until they've exhausted some of these more flexible point cards first. That said, you know your travel habits best, and then can directly map to those specific cards in the specific ecosystems. For example, if you're a Hilton loyalist, you might want to go for Amex with their Hilton cards, like their Aspire card giving you their top-of-the-line diamond status. If you fly Delta, you might want to consider Amex as well, with their Delta cards like the Reserve giving you priority boarding. But if you like Marriott, both issuers have cards for you. And if you like Southwest, United, IHG, Hyatt, Aeroplan, or Avios, then Chase might be up your alley. You can tell that Chase has many more co-branded cards, but really it's up to you and your travel lifestyle, because most of these cards have rewards that are targeted to the specific brand and not flexible at all. But if you're like me and like that points flexibility and don't mind putting in some effort to get those amazing travel experiences, then make sure you're putting your hard-earned points to good use, where you can learn all about in this video here step by step, and I'll see you over there.